Hey, what is going on YouTube? East Tactics here, just kind of a late hour quick tip on kind of just talking a little bit about, one of the most common issues with these RCs, and that is cogging or like stripping of gears, and just kind of give a little bit of a tactic to kind of sniff out which end of your vehicle might be having problems, and talk a little bit about, the difference between the V4 and the EXB when it comes to differentials. But ultimately what's going on with my vehicle is I have a clicking noise, a common issue in this high-end RC industry, right? So I've got a couple of videos that I've made in the past that talk about like a clicking or a stutter that you get when you're kind of jumping off the line, and a lot of times people run into an issue called cogging, which is basically just kind of in a nutshell a miscommunication between your motor and your ESC. A lot of times it's attributed to being a little bit overzealous with throwing too large of a pinion gear onto your motor. Like many others, when I was a rookie in the industry, I was just like, you know what, let's go balls to the wall and put in the biggest pinion gear that I can. So I threw a 22 pinion gear on my motor, and basically the stock components were not happy. Particularly the motor and the ESC are just not compatible with that large of a pinion gear, and so I was experiencing this weird stutter off of the line. And here's basically a video on that. So it basically feels like you might have a broken gear or just some sort of issue with the gearing when you punch it off the line. Anyway, so since I dropped that video quite a few months ago, quite a bit, I actually get people asking me, what's going on with their vehicle. They're experiencing the cogging issue, or what they think is the cogging issue, but they've tried everything. They've reduced the pinion size back to normal. They've adjusted their punch setting down, and they're still getting what they feel like is like a clicking or a cogging feel to the vehicle. And so one of the most common issues that actually happens to our vehicles, if it's not cogging, is basically you just end up stripping out, like the input gear or the ring gear on one of your differentials, whether it be the front differential or the rear differential, or even the center differential. If you end up chipping a tooth on your pinion or chipping a tooth on the crown gear, you're going to be experiencing a clicking as soon as you try to kind of exert any serious torque into the system. And so because the input gear down here is sort of buried behind a wall of grease, many people don't notice that it has a worn tooth on it. So if you're getting a clicking issue, it's pretty likely that if it's not cogging, and you've determined that it's not cogging, it's pretty likely that it's either this has a broken or chipped tooth on it, or your actual ring gear on your differential has a worn or broken tooth on it. And so doing a close inspection on this is pretty easy, because obviously it's readily available as soon as you pop the cover off of the differential. However, these are a little bit more difficult to kind of see, so let me kind of just roll to the front here and show you, so you can see, believe it or not, you can kind of tell this one right there and this one right here. That one is not too bad, but that one you can definitely see the wear. But it's even worse on the back side. So basically that stripped out and was creating a stutter whenever I would give it some gas or try to punch it off the line. So the question is, how do you determine whether that issue is happening in the front end of the vehicle or the back end of the vehicle? And there's a little tactic that you can do to kind of sniff out which side you're having the problem with. So what you do is you take your vehicle and you set it up on a stand like I have here, And then what you do is you take both of your hands and you place them on both sides of your vehicle. And then you just, at the same time, you slowly turn. And then you basically, you should feel every single time that little clicking happens, it's basically the dog bone spinning the actual pinion gear on the motor. Is you want to roll the tire and kind of feel that movement of the pinion gear like this, and just do that all the way around in a circle, 360 degrees, and keep doing that. If the tires kind of give away and shift with the pinion gear on the motor, then everything's fine. However, when I spun this thing around to the front end of my vehicle, and I had both of my tires on here, and I was kind of doing the exact same thing, just kind of slowly spinning the tires and just feeling that movement, feeling the roll and the give of the pinion gear. So let's kind of make believe that this is the front end. I was basically just spinning it. That sounds good. That sounds good. All that sounds good. Every single time my tires give away, I feel the pinion gear spin. But then one of the times it went like this and it was quiet. It was basically the perfect spot where that shaved tooth was kind of giving way. And I guess ultimately what I'm saying is in the rotation of this, as you kind of just continue to go all the way around in a circle, you can find that moment where the bad tooth reveals itself. And it kind of helps you to determine which end you got to take apart, front or rear, is having the issue. So saves you a little bit of time, and then you basically just got to get in there and throw in a new input gear. One of the things though that I do plan on doing in a future video, I'm gonna pick up one of the Arrma EXB differentials, and I'm gonna do a very in-depth close comparison between the two types of differentials. And I was under the impression that all the parts for the EXB were interchangeable with the parts on the V4. And while the differential houses as a whole are able to be swapped in to the Kraton V4, you can't piece together the different components. You've got to replace everything. So if you end up deciding to go with an EXB differential setup, you've got to change to a different input gear. Let's say I was holding the EXB ring gear. You can't slap that ring gear onto a V4 cup, because there's a lot of different, there's basically the holes themselves are drilled differently, and the holes don't line up. So you actually can't just be like, oh, I want to take advantage of the higher end meatier teeth on the EXB and the higher end meatier teeth on the input gear, and then just use your regular V4 cups. You can't do that. I was actually hoping you could, but turns out you can't. So just an FYI, if you're kind of interested in swapping over to the EXB differentials, you have to basically replace the whole system, including the input gear. And then you can actually rock the EXB differentials. From what I understand, the EXB input gears, as well as their ring gears, are not only designed with a meatier breadth to the teeth, but also they're made out of a hardened steel, maybe a slightly better steel, which I think will go a long way with preventing stripping and things like that. So, but I am not 100% sure on that. So this new video will not only show the details of the differences between the two, but also kind of clarify, the exact materials that the EXB differentials are made out of, whether or not it is even worth it to switch or upgrade up to the EXB differentials and take advantage of the slipper plates that you're going to find in the front section as well as the middle section. and also to tackle some of the issues that the EXB has had with its rear differentials, making sure that they're shimmed correctly. So will it be worth it, I guess, to kind of like upgrade as you go even from V4 differentials to the EXB? Or just stick with the V4 components and never really bother with the EXB differentials? That's the question. Anyway guys, thanks for watching this video. Again, this was just kind of a late hour quick tip on kind of just talking a little bit about, you know, one of the most common issues with these RCs, and that is cogging or like stripping of gears, and just kind of give a little bit of a tactic to kind of sniff out which end of your vehicle might be having problems, and talk a little bit about, you know, the difference between the V4 and the EXB when it comes to differentials. So anyway guys, be sure to check out links in the description if you're ever looking for parts on the platform, whether it be for the V4 or even the EXB. And also just check out my other videos in the ARRMA industry. Also, if you ever do find that, you know, my channel has been a big help to you and you want to pay it forward, hit me up on Patreon and, you know, throw a little bit of love my way. That's always appreciated. Till next time, East Tactics, out.